There we are. And hello, everyone, and welcome back. We are live to another Star Wars Sunday. And with me this week, we have we have the normal special guest that we have every single time we do a Star Wars Sunday. That's my man, Dan from Disney.
Well, thank you once again. These are like one of my favorite days of every month. Like just being able to talk about my favorite franchise of all time and have a great time and maybe rant a little bit. Well, who knows? We'll see. But I do love these a lot. So yeah, I'm looking forward to another episode.
Yep, and we're going to have a good time. I think they're getting better as we go on.
I'm already happy because I'm clearly the abnormal guest, right?
No, not at all. You're the special guest.
Special guest.
Okay, I'll take that. I like abnormal better, actually. But
okay, he's our abnormally special guest, Jeff from DolewhipDad. Welcome in, Jeff. Thank you for being here, buddy.
Oh, thank you. Love it.
Yeah, we're definitely glad you're here. We've been thinking about getting you on for a while. We know you're a big Star Wars fan, and we thought this would be the perfect movie to have you in on. And we're going to have a good time with it. Real fast, guys, before we get started, let's go out to the chat, see who's out here. Because it's a Sunday afternoon. I know there could be other things, but these folks are spending their time with us, so I appreciate it. Of course, we have Steve, my other partner channel. He's in the house, Steve's World. Good to see you, Steve. Brandy and Dave are here. Jack, Sandy Claus, Logan, Kay Atwood. John's, Richard's here. Welcome.
John's in the
Richard.
house.
See you, buddy. Chris, Phantom Gazer. I haven't seen you in forever, pal. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Hope everybody's going well. Hope the move went well. AJC Magic TV's here, and we're going to get rolling here in just a second. Today we're doing Solo, a Star Wars movie. Now it's funny. This wasn't the first standalone. The first standalone was Rogue One. This one followed it as the second of the standalones. But in chronological order, it comes before Rogue One. Agreed, gentlemen?
Agreed.
Yep, absolutely. So we're going to talk about it. But before we do, a little bit of kind of stats on what we know about Solo, a Star Wars movie. 2018 is when it came out, so it wasn't that long ago. This is kind of where it goes downhill when it comes to Star Wars movies. It made $209 million domestically, which is the single lowest, which really surprised me, of all pre-1970s movies. $209 million domestically and only $391 total. And I think to the Star Wars people, Lucasfilm and Disney, that was kind of considered a bust. Would you agree?
It was 100% a bust. And, there is one other movie I think really hindered this movie, and that was The Last Jedi, because of the backlash and the controversy with the Last Jedi. I think people got very much like, hey, we need a break from this. We don't want another Star Wars movie so close. Like, this was released, I don't even know, like 5-6 months after The Last Jedi, which is really soon. And yeah, everyone was just tired. Like, we wanted to wait till maybe December to see Solo. But yeah, I think in terms of how much it made, it was really affected by the kind of what the public thought about The Last Jedi, which is a shame. It is a shame.
Jeff, what do you think? Star Wars fatigue or just movie in general?
So what was the total number? Before I answer that, what was the total number?
Well, domestically, 209.
Okay.
And then as a whole, internationally, 391.
So let me answer it this way. And I've gotten some silly debates on Solo a few times. So what do we have? We've got episode 9 coming up. We've got a couple of the standalones, 2 that I can think of. So what is that, about 11 movies?
Right.
Solo made $200-something million domestically only. That makes it just outside of the top 100 grossing movies in the history of history. So here's what I think. Here's my hot take on Solo. Sure. We've grown to expect such look at the top 100 U.S. domestic box office movies, and it's Star Wars and Star Wars and Star Wars and Star Wars. Solo is in only about the 150th biggest ever. I think it is a victim of the Star Wars success.
Yeah.
I think that if it was our first movie, we would all love it. I think, does it stand up to some of the top 10 movies of all time? No. But movies for that year, it was a top 10 movie. It was an excellent movie. It's not an Academy Award winner. It's not the best Star Wars movie ever. But if you said to me that Disney, Kathleen Kennedy or Bob Iger or anybody said, hey, we're going to make this movie and it's only going to make $250 million, yeah, they'd be okay with it. I just think it's a victim of Star Wars success. What do you guys think?
And I would almost agree, but this was a summer blockbuster movie. And what other massive blockbuster movie came out in 2018? Avengers Infinity War. I mean, that just sucked the light out of everybody. Like, nobody wanted to really go and see anything else apart from Avengers Infinity War. And I feel like because people wanted to see something a little bit different, because we have that Star Wars fatigue, and because it has been affected maybe by, so many other of the films and whatever, it doesn't surprise me that it didn't do very well. And it, looking at how much this movie was made, like how much it cost to make this movie, this was a flop.
Right. That's where I'm coming in. What it costs and what you make, there's got to be a major profit, in my opinion. And it is expected, because it has that name, Star Wars, on it, it is expected to hit a certain platform. And it just financially didn't do it. And that's why now Disney has pumped the brakes on these standalones. They're not doing them now. They're going back to the trilogies. Jeff, I'm with you 100%. But the fact that we did have them previously, there is a certain standard and expectation that these movies have to hit. And I don't know that it may have, but I think financially it shows that.
So how profitable or unprofitable was it? Like all I have is the revenue. I don't have the cost.
It was profitable. It did make a profit, but I think it made the total of $390. And I think that's before. And no, I'm sorry. It was like $300 to make it, and it made $390. But I don't know if the $300 is before or after marketing.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can't give you a direct one, because you're right. Did it make a profit? It did. It looks like it did, but it didn't make the massive profits that I think Lucasfilm.
Here's where I am. Like, if you're going to tell me, all right, I'm going to look at the business of Disney, and let's say they only made $100 million, which I think they made more than that by a lot. But let's just say they only made profit $100 million on Star Wars or on Solo. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd buy stock in that company that's upset that they're only making $100 million. And then we haven't talked about the movie yet, but I think it's excellent. I mean, I got to learn about how he did the Kessel Run, how he met Lando, how he met Chewie. So I'm sure we'll get into that in a minute. But
yeah, absolutely.
I feel like this movie gets attacked. I love this movie.
Well, it's funny you said that. Well, it's funny you say that too, because in Rotten Tomatoes it got a 70.
Did it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I mean, I was surprised that I saw that. I didn't think it got a 70. I was surprised.
That surprises me too.
It was higher than I expected.
Yeah, but I don't always trust Rotten Tomatoes, because when you compare films, there are two films that I know very well that are completely different. If you're a fan of the X-Men franchise, The Wolverine and X-Men Origins Wolverine have the same rating. And The Wolverine is way better than X-Men Origins Wolverine. So I don't always trust Rotten Tomatoes. But the thing is with Solo, there was a lot of reshoots. There was a lot of different directors making this movie, and Ron Howard got final say. And I love Ron Howard. I think he's a fantastic director. And I'm gonna put this out there, because both of you are sports fans. Rush is the best sports movie of all time.
What movie is the best movie?
Rush. With
like that guy on the radio or the rock band.
The story of Niki Lauda and James Hunt, Ferrari versus McLaren Formula One World Championship. Beautifully directed movie.
Is this a motorcycle race, or what are we talking about?
Oh, right. Oh, goodness me.
I love you so much, Dan.
Jeff, we need...
All right, we're getting off topic.
but Ron Howard
directed... You want me and Dan on, you're going to get off topic.
So Ron Howard directed this movie, most of this movie, and I think in terms of an overall movie with Solo, for me, there's a lot of potential here, but there are lots of choppy stuff in here. There are a lot of problems, and it's not a perfect movie, but I'm looking forward to discussing and maybe a little bit of a ranting, a little bit, as this is Star Wars Sunday, and you wouldn't have Star Wars Sunday without a little bit of Dan ranting a little bit.
Dan rant, I like that.
Yeah.
Dan rant.
Well, let me say this. I'll say this. The movie, I agree with you, Jeff. The movie gives us a checklist of questions about Han Solo that we've been waiting for.
Absolutely.
How he won the Falcon, how he met Lando, how he met Chewie, how he did the Kessel Run.
Yep.
It gives us all those checklists. But to me, and as we'll get into it, did they go in depth enough about those checklists of what I wanted to see? Did they just glaze over them and just fill them in, or did they actually give us enough about them? We'll get into that for me in a minute. But I do want to start we'll go in sections. And let's start in the very beginning, kind of the first act. You know, we meet Han. He's already an adult at this point. He's a grown man. He's on this planet, which if either one of you know the name of the planet, you get extra points, where he is kind of a slave in a mining type planet where he's with Kira, who is played by Emilia Clarke. They are trying to escape because they are kind of like slaves, prisoners there, and they have to get what's called coaxium. And for those that know, coaxium is that what they put in hyperdrives?
Yeah, essentially. Gives them the boost and
got it.
Powerful energy. Yeah.
Right. And the coaxium can be either unrefined or refined. Now they have it refined originally. They're trying to escape. We get into that a little bit. One gets away, one doesn't. And then we are a few years later. But what do you guys think about the beginning of this movie? Before we even get into some of the gifts that we meet, let's just talk about right there. What do you think of that part?
Shall I let Jeff go first before I start ranting?
Special guest first.
Before I start ranting, I'll let Jeff go first.
Well, I'll dive in. So the beginning for me is two separate scenes. It's the chase scene and it's the fish that doesn't like the sunlight scene. The fish snake thing. I don't remember her name right now. I didn't love the chase scene. I got to be honest. I don't know. It seemed forced. It seemed Blade Runner 1980 something. I didn't love it. Didn't hate it, but didn't love it. I didn't hate the scene where was it Proxima? Is that her name? I don't.
Yeah,
okay, is that right? I didn't feel right. You know, I didn't love that character. I thought it was we didn't know anything. It was pretty forced, pretty quick. I got to be honest with you. As much as I do like it, I feel like I'm a solo apologist. But the opening scene I thought didn't hook me very well. I'm maybe interested to see what you guys say. Like I 15, 20 minutes in was like, this might stink. I thought it got a lot better once we went on the little quest and he became the smuggler and all those things. But the opening scene fell short for me.
Yeah, Jeff, I completely agree. I really do not like this beginning of this movie. It's very flat.
Yeah.
It's just so Lady Proxima, she's this really weird alien fish monster thing, kind of looks like something out of Doctor Who. The CGI looks really bad. And what I also don't like about her is she speaks English. And most of these aliens don't, and her goons, her men or whoever, don't speak English. They need like a translator or whatever.
Right.
It just didn't really work for me. It kind of reminded me as this is like a forced like foreshadowing Jabba into the next couple of movies. Like this is how he's going to interact with Jabba. And when he pulls out like the rock and he goes that, and I'm just like, it just wasn't funny. I just didn't get it. Like, I don't know. This was one of the biggest issues with this movie. There were some funny scenes in this movie, and then there were also some funny scenes that just weren't funny. It just fell flat. And that the first rock scene clicking thing just didn't make any sense to me. But my biggest, this is going to be the anti-climax of this first. The one thing I really hate about this first act is how Han got his name. Yeah, I really do not like how his name Han Solo comes from this random Imperial officer.
Yeah,
like I would rather have had him like have a backstory about he's always been alone. Maybe he meets Kira on this planet, but maybe she gave him that name.
He should have given himself that name.
Yeah,
right.
Not this random Imperial officer, and I really did not like that at all. This is Han Solo. This is in my opinion, probably my second favorite character in the whole of Star Wars, after Luke. And to get your name from this random Imperial stormtrooper, it sucked. I'm sorry.
Yeah, for me, the beginning of the movie, first off, he's already an adult, so we don't know anything about his childhood. What's even led him to this point? So he's already an adult. They're not really explaining how he got to this place in the first place. We don't explain how his relationship to her has even begun. Did he know her as a kid? He somehow gets this coaxium, which we don't even really know how he got it, but he has it in his hands. You're right. The lady that speaks English, I don't have a problem with that. Admiral Akbar spoke English, Jabba the Hutt didn't. Okay. Some of these characters can, some of these characters can't. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. But you're right. The scene where he's holding the rock and he's calling it a thermal detonator, it just didn't roll correctly. And yes, that was a big part for me. Getting his name from just this random guy. Oh, all right, your last name's Solo. Now, his last name's too important to come about that way. I agree. I think it should have been something that he came up with. And even when he asked him, if he had just said, you know what? Solo, that's my last name. I'd have been fine with that. I'd have been fine with that. But the guy coming up with it, come on. Now, I agree. You guys are right. At the beginning of the movie, I'm like, oh, geez, I hope this gets a little bit better for me. It wasn't terrible. Don't get me wrong. The chase scene was meh, but it was okay. It was action. It kept you going. It kept you up. But then from there, this is the part for me that really was hard to understand. As he escapes, he enlists in the Imperial Navy.
Yeah.
We had never in the history of Han Solo ever had any idea that he was in any way linked to the Empire, ever. It was never mentioned in New Hope, Empire, or Return of the Jedi. Never. I didn't understand this take on the storyline for me. I want to hear from you guys. And then not only that, he didn't get into the Navy. He got into the cavalry, which was funny, actually. I kind of think it's funny. I like that part of it. But I just didn't understand why they took the direction there. Thoughts, gentlemen? Jeff?
Go ahead, I'll go. So I hated that also. I don't have a problem with him being, in the military, in whatever way they wanted to do it. But that just seems so flippant. The whole story about the whole government on top of you, that's what he was saying. That's what George Lucas was saying. And it was just very random. Hey, I'm running away from the bad guys. Okay, I'll sign up in that line so I can go through the door and I'll lose my girl. It felt so rushed. Like it felt to me like the movie started, like in Force Awakens, it starts with Kylo coming on the battlefield and we meet Finn. And it felt like the movie for me, the good part of the movie for me, started on the battlefield here too. They could have skipped all that stuff for me. I didn't learn anything other than he had a girlfriend that he lost. And I don't know. I really hated the first 20 minutes. So
we don't really go. For me, like the whole thing with him joining the Empire was completely pointless. Like he was there, and then
okay with me had they done it in a decent way, but I hated the flippantness of it. But I'll shut up.
Yeah, he just joined, and then the only real reason why he, got into the Empire and then left or deserted essentially was that he met Beckett, played by Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the next part I want to get into is that part with Beckett, Thandie Newton, and I think the voice of the character is Jon Favreau, correct?
Yeah,
Jon Favreau for the four-armed alien guy.
Yep.
Little monkey guy. Yeah.
I guess just for me, and let me just interject this. I just didn't understand something as important as that is never mentioned previously in his life. Why did we take that direction of him entering the Empire? Wouldn't that have come up at some point in any of the originals? Like, oh yeah, I have a history with the Empire. I actually was with them for a while.
This is one of my biggest issues with this movie. It's more like it fills in the loose ends of the things that we've been told in other movies and doesn't build on his character at all. Like all we know is like, okay, this is how he meets Lando. This is how he meets Chewbacca. But we don't really get any sort of character development from Han.
Right.
Which is difficult. I understand that because we love Han Solo in these movies. So why it's kind of like, do you do it and risk changing a character that is beloved by Star Wars fans? Or do you play it safe like they've done here and just essentially tell us all these scenes in which Han has done things in the past? So they kind of back themselves into a corner.
Yeah.
And let me say something real fast. A few people in the chat that came in. I want to say hi to RV and to Disney. Jack Jones is here. Brian's in. Greg Disney World Disney's Adventures is in here. Donna Jaworski. Lisa's in here. Stacy. Zoe from Wishing Mouse. Good to see you, Zoe. Hadn't seen you in a while. Just want to say hi to a few people who did drop in. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We definitely appreciate it for a Sunday afternoon. Kay Atwood makes a good point, and I didn't know this, guys. She says Han was in the Empire in the extended universe. His pants were part of the uniform. Oh, and Corey Meets World's here, too. Corey. Hey, Corey.
Hey, Corey. What's up, pal?
But did you guys know that? I didn't know that.
You know, I hadn't looked at it. I had in my head that there was some connection there, but I still agree with the point that it wasn't a plot point in any of our stories. It was, I don't know. It left me wanting.
I'm gonna say it's really for the real die-hard Star Wars fans who, you know, read all the books, really know the extended universe, that they know, you know, these important facts. But for the people who, you know, like us, love Star Wars, but may not know as much about like the Old Republic or stuff between, you know, the prequels and sequels, whatever. It's difficult. It is difficult. They're kind of going for fan service, but I don't think they did it very well. The perfect example of fan service is what they did in Endgame, which I don't know if I should spoil or not, but come on, you've had like 5 weeks to go see this movie. If you haven't seen
it by now, you don't want to see it.
Yeah. So an example of fan service is Captain America with Mjolnir. That is fan service because people in the comics, people who've read the comics, know that he lifts Thor's hammer. But this is not fan service. This is something that is kind of like, unless you read about Han's background and you have and you've not just seen the movies.
Right. And then, of course, kind of moving on from there, as he's on the planet fighting the battle, that is where he meets Tobias Beckett, Woody Harrelson's character, Andy Newton's character, as they're there to steal a ship. And he kind of recognizes this, and they kind of, in the first of many, Woody Harrelson turns on him and turns him into the Empire, and they throw him into this pit to be eaten by this monster who just happens to be none other than the big guy himself, Chewbacca. And now we finally realize and learn how these two gentlemen meet each other. And what do you guys think of that interaction there?
You know me, Dan.
Go ahead, Jeff.
So I've heard people hate this, but I don't get it. I loved it. I mean, is it what I would have written? No. I don't know what I would have written. I liked it a lot. I liked that they were supposed to be adversaries, and Han's kind of charm won him over pretty quickly. I liked that it showed, I don't know, I enjoyed it. To me, this is where the movie started / got good. I liked once they got out, they ran the other way. I liked that it showed Chewie was a little bullheaded, like Han was a little bullheaded. They could have extended that for me even. But for me, this is where the movie actually got pretty decent. I've heard lots of people hate it. This scene specifically, their meetup. What do you think, Dan?
I really like it. I really like it because, you know, when I first saw this part of the movie, I instantly recalled Return of the Jedi, where Han gets thrown in and sees Chewie under Jabba's palace. It just reminds me of that, and kind of as well as the Rancor scene. There's a lot of Return of the Jedi isms in this kind of scene. I really like it.
That was a callback to that? Do you think? I
think so, but I think they did it in the right way. I think, you know, it was subtle. I didn't think like they did it like intentionally, you know, bad. I thought, you know, they did it really well. One of my favorite lines from the movie is, Han, can you speak Wookiee? And he's like Kashyyyk milk muffler or something. He said it's just something really funny, and I just really like it. I like the fact that Chewbacca was a killer. I like the fact that gives Chewbacca more depth to his character. And what I really liked about this movie really was we got to explore more about Chewbacca, because you know, he was the sidekick of Han, but actually we get to know more about Chewbacca, and I think it's been really cool to get to know his character a little bit more. And so I think it's cool. To be fair, Han speaking Wookiee, that did, you know, it was a bit convenient, but
well, we knew he understood it, and if you can understand it, you can screw it up verbally, right? Like, I mean, I can screw up Spanish verbally. So like at one point in the movie, he says, you know, he said something like it's his family or his village, he wasn't sure, which kind of said, hey, Han kind of understands, but not that well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with him knowing the language a little bit. I have no problem with that. First, let me say hi real fast to Meg. Meg's here. Mickey's Meg here. Belle Southern's here. John Hazelton's here. Thank you, everybody, for coming in and being here. We definitely appreciate it. We got 19 watching and 26 likes, so thank you all very much. I appreciate that. We all do. My take on his interaction and meeting of Chewie. I liked it. I thought that their relationship should have grown a little bit more. I think they became too trusting of each other too quickly.
Yeah.
It seemed like all of a sudden he put his life in his hands within 5 minutes of knowing him.
I mean, he was going to eat him, so.
Yeah.
Well, okay, he talked him out of that, but I didn't think he would get him that quickly. I thought it would take a little. I wanted to see a little bit more of a push and shove between the two of them and really have the relationship grow. That's what I wanted. I didn't get that. That's okay. But I do like that we finally got to see how that happened. I like it. I like the new kid who now plays Chewbacca. Peter Mayhew, God rest his soul, was great. I think this kid's going to do a good job. I really do. I think he's been trained by the best. He was trained by Peter Mayhew. I think he's going to be awesome. And I do like their interaction between the two of them. I just wish I would have saw a little bit more of a push and shove between the two of them as the movie went on. Just a little bit more, and then by the end, you can really see that relationship grow. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree with that for sure.
Now, as once they met Tobias Beckett, they escaped, and this was the other part to me. And I don't know what you guys thought when they escaped from that little prison where the two of them were when it all just fell to the ground. Nobody comes to investigate that.
Yeah.
Nobody comes to look into that.
Yeah.
That was kind of weird.
But it kind of just like. No one comes to investigate that, but something happens later on in the movie where everybody turns up, and it just, I feel like
it's lazy writing.
It's lazy writing. I feel like, look, this is Han Solo's movie, and who were the biggest villains to Han Solo? It was the Empire. I wanted to see more Empire this movie.
Yeah,
they should have been way more,
That's a
involved.
great point.
Yeah. And we do see them, but we don't have to see Vader, we don't have to see the Emperor, but we need to understand that right now, the Empire have control of the galaxy, and I didn't feel like they did in this movie.
Yeah, I agree.
And to jump on that point, the Jabba, I know they set up the next Solo movie, if we're going to have one, or they say, hey, I heard about this guy on Tatooine. Obviously they're talking about Jabba. But I would have liked to I guess I can't have all of it in one if they're trying to set up a bunch of movies. But I think you made a good point there, and Jabba not being there kind of bugged me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I do want to talk about the next part where they go on to the kind of the ice planet or the planet with all the snow, where they're going to go and steal a massive truckload or train load of coaxium. That's the whole point, because they need it for Dryden Voss, who is the kind of the big bad guy, and we can get into him a little bit too. They're on this this planet. They're there. They're trying to get the coaxium from this train that's way up into the mountains, which is kind of cool. I like the whole feel of that area. And then, of course, Boss. What was the oh my gosh, I can't think of the name of the bad guy that comes in at that point.
It's the pirate.
The pirate.
With a really freaky helmet.
Yes.
I can't remember her name though.
It's not.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Which I want to pick on the back of. The one issue I've really noticed about this movie is I can't remember a lot of the characters' names. And
and isn't that a problem? Shouldn't we know?
That's a problem. And we'll get into two of the characters in this train scene, two side characters. But I've put in my notes, alien with 4 arms is awesome, and Afro girl dies and blows up. I can't remember their names. Because what do we remember about Star Wars? We remember the names. Remember Darth Vader, the Emperor, Luke Skywalker. These are all recognizable names. But these side characters, you still remember side characters. You remember Lando Calrissian. You remember all these names. But I just didn't I don't know. It just kind of. Yeah, right.
I agree with you, but we do remember Kira, right? We do remember Beckett.
Yeah,
I mean,
Tobias Beckett.
I don't remember all of them. I agree with you, but I want to know more of what's going on with Kira and why her and Darth Maul are buddies all of a sudden. I want to know more about.
Spoilers.
You gave it away already?
Maybe I'm lying. Maybe I'm a lying liar. I don't need to know the backstory on Beckett, but I don't know.
No,
I don't disagree with you, but I don't think they missed it totally there.
No, I don't feel we need to know their backstory because this isn't their story. I agree with you 100%. They are supporting characters. What I don't like is what role they bring to the movie. Woody Harrelson has always been a guy in his movies where he steals scenes. He's a scene stealer.
Yeah.
He's great at his role. He never steals a scene in this movie. He's always on the cusp, but never is that.
He gets outshone. He does.
He's just he's there, but anybody could have played that role, and it would have been the same role. And I don't like that because when I see Woody Harrelson in a movie, I want him to steal some of these scenes.
Yeah,
just like Donald Glover did do. Because
which I'm sure we'll get to.
We'll get there.
I want to bring up the campfire scene because the campfire scene, it's a very subtle scene before this big, mid-movie climax. You have this scene where everybody's surrounding the campfire. It's very, mellow. Everybody's, discussing about everything. And I think it's a really great scene. One thing I really did not like about Han Solo's character in this movie was every 10 minutes he told us he wants to be a pilot. We know he becomes the best pilot in the galaxy. Like we just need one heartfelt speech about him wanting to be a pilot and end it. But he keeps saying, I'm going to be a pilot. I'm going to be the best pilot. I want to be a pilot. He goes up to the Imperial officer. I want to be a pilot. It's like the same as as what's his face in Rogue One. You the pilot? He's the pilot. Oh, I'm the pilot. I'm the pilot. Like, we know. Like, just stop saying that you're the pilot. We know that Han Solo is Dan rant time.
No, you're right. You're right. And great whatevers. Great fill in the blanks. Don't tell people they're great at it. Hey, I'm a great. No, you're not, because you're telling people you are. So yeah, I'm with you on that one.
I will say this. When you have the scene on the train, when all that goes down, it's all great, and I understand it. The problem I have with the two deaths that we get there, Jon Favreau's character and Thandie Newton's character, is I don't feel for them because we don't really have a connection to them. Their characters aren't developed. We don't really get to know them for very long. They're in the movie for 25 minutes, and already they're dead. Yep. In a 2-hour movie, they're gone in 25 minutes. We don't get to know them. But yet the movie wants you to feel like you've known them for forever, because they make them so dramatic. But I'm like, why are we having drama with this?
I'm like, this alien guy is around the campfire is pretty cool. Like, he lifted himself up onto this log with his 2 back arms. That is cool. I'm like, this thing is awesome. I can't wait to see what he does in this movie. He's dead. I'm like, alien with 4 arms is awesome. And then I put ... dies. And I'm just like, what a waste of a character. He could have been like a really cool sidekick character. He could have been Beckett's Chewbacca. He could have been, somebody who, it doesn't even have to be an important role, but I feel like these were just wasted.
Yep. But as we move forward with the story, after that, obviously they don't get the coaxium. They lose it. It gets destroyed. Dryden Voss, Memphis Nest doesn't get it either. Nobody gets it. It explodes and destroys a mountain, which was kind of cool, actually. I like that. I thought that was a pretty cool scene. But then they go off, and we finally meet who ultimately, I guess, is the big bad in this movie, and that's Dryden Voss, played by Paul Bettany, better known as Vision. For those who may not know, he's Vision in the Avengers. But he's the bad guy in this movie. His name is Dryden Voss, and he's got a boss of his own who, and maybe you guys can tell me, I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, he mentions his boss, but do we ever really know who his boss is?
Well, his boss is called Crimson Dawn, or this society or something. Something's called Crimson Dawn. Now,
and do we ever know who that is?
I am almost certain that Crimson Dawn is Darth Maul.
Okay.
Because
they're like
Crimson is like red, and obviously Darth Maul is is red and black and whatever. And it kind of I kind of thought that was going to be him, and just the way the movie kind of ends up. We'll get into spoilers later, but it felt like Darth Maul was in charge.
Yeah, so for me, I thought that was like the gang, and so like in was it Force Awakens where Han Solo's in between the two gangs that both are after him. I felt like that was the gang, and then obviously we learn that there's a connection with Maul and all stuff. But I think that's how I took that.
Gotcha. So obviously they meet, and finally, after all this time, when Kira and Han Solo had gotten separated in the very beginning of the movie, he got away, she didn't. It's years later, and he finally sees her again, and she's with Dryden Voss. Fair enough. I get all that. The whole story of where they're going next is this is where it kind of gets more interesting, and we kind of take off a little bit for the movie for me, and where I'm starting to like it is where they go to get the unstable coaxium before it's refined. And they even explain it very well, I thought. This is refined. You got to get it quickly to where it can be refined and cooled before it overheats and explodes. They explain all that. They explain where they got to go and get it at the Kessel, and they explain what the Kessel Run is at this point. And he does the historic Kessel Run. What do you guys think of this part of the movie for you? And of course, this is where he also meets Lando Calrissian.
So the train. I'm sorry, buddy. You want to go?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So the train scene was very. I thought there was like a lot of old West stuff going on here. Like it's an old West train robbery, and then when you get to the Lando meetup, very Tombstone in the bar feel to me. I love Tombstone, so that's a compliment. But I really wanted to meet Lando. I remember thinking at this point, okay, I'm getting excited, but where's Lando? And where? I mean, we haven't even met Lando and his sidekick yet, who I thought was a pretty interesting character. I think that. I don't know. I feel like maybe this is where there was the two writers or the two directors, or I guess there was three writers and two directors, whatever. It seemed to have different ideas going at the same time, which kind of bummed me, but it worked because I enjoyed it. The train scene, I found exciting. I liked it. I even liked the silly explosion. Shocking. I know I like explosions, but that was a cool explosion when they dropped the thing. And I didn't care about Thandie Newton's character, like you mentioned earlier when she left. I think that was in there so we'd feel bad for Beckett. So then we'd be surprised if later maybe he's not a good guy. But I don't know. The movie was definitely picking up for me then, and I liked the Lando scene a lot because he's kind of a scoundrel. He's kind of charming. He's stealing. I don't know. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I did. Go ahead,
I just want to like rewind slightly with I was a bit confused how Kira knew Beckett when they were with Dryden Voss. I knew kind of Dryden Voss knew Beckett, but I didn't know Kira knew Beckett. I didn't quite get that. And
they don't really explain that. I'm assuming that's
well, they both work for him.
Yeah, I guess
for him. That's the connector in my mind.
That's I guess that's supposed to go without saying kind of thing. It's an off-screen relationship that happened, and we just they know each other. Okay,
and I like the fact they discuss in the heist. I like the fact that Dryden Voss is very angry and is very much. Yes, Meg, I'm holding a pen. I've got loads of notes. Two pages of notes. Don't ask me how I watch movies. Dryden Voss, I think, was quite intimidating. I do like that a lot. And I like the fact that Kira was going with to prove her loyalty to Dryden Voss, which I really liked. And for me, Donald Glover steals the movie for me. If there was any actor who could reprise a role perfectly to the actor who had it previously, Donald Glover nailed it. He got the mannerisms, he got the speed. When he spoke, it felt like it sounded exactly like him. And I think it was brilliant. I think
when the attitude, the swagger, I'm totally
it's amazing. And honestly, in my opinion, Donald Glover is one of the best actors working today. There is not one movie that he's done that I think he's done a bad movie. And I think for me, I think Donald Glover was the best part of this movie, in my opinion. I love the gambling scene, but for me, although I liked that the movie was picking up, I slowly started disliking the character of Han because Han, didn't feel like Han Solo. Like when you look back at episodes 4, 5, and 6. Han was a very angry person. He did things his way. He has lines like he goes to people saying like, "What do you mean nobody knows?" He doesn't like being told what to do. He likes to think he knows best. and I feel like he's smiling a little bit too much. He's being charming, which I think what Han Solo is, but he's very much an independent character, and I feel like he wasn't that. Like, I just didn't. I got very weird signs from this version of Han Solo. I didn't really get it. I feel like Han Solo should have always been that character who was kind of aggressive in nature, kind of like he goes in The Empire Strikes Back. He like sends someone to go out to look for Luke. He's very aggressive. He wants things done. He does not show this in this movie. He really doesn't. And
it's funny. Meg says in the chat, she goes, "Oh, he's too happy. Disney, stop making characters happy." I get the sarcasm, Meg, but you got to be consistent with the character that's been developed over the years, and I get exactly what Dan's saying. I didn't like this gentleman as Han Solo either. It just didn't fit for me. I couldn't see this character of Han Solo becoming the Han Solo that we know and love. It just didn't. You're right. It didn't feel like this was the person that's going to become Han Solo that we know in A New Hope.
I feel like we'll talk about this at the end, but I feel like you can watch this movie and then watch A New Hope, and nothing has changed about the character. You'll know like where he got the Falcon from, but in terms of his character, nothing has changed, which we'll talk about. Which I think we'll talk about later.
I agree, but if they give you 2 more Solo movies where he hardens as a character, he gets a little more. I mean, he's still a dreamer. He still thinks he's going to be with his girl. He still thinks that she's a good guy. He's still, he's a little bit naive, and he's a 20-something. Maybe in the next 1 or 2, if they have him, he hardens up. Would that make you guys happier?
Yes.
That's kind of what I see it. I mean, I'm a lot less trusting of the world than I was in my 20s, and now I'm definitely not in my 20s. So I can see how that can still progress. I don't disagree. I would have liked him to have been harder and less of a good guy.
Yeah. He's meant to be an anti-hero, and he really wasn't. But the one thing with this scene, this part, I really, really did not like was L3, the droid. I really did not like L3, the droid. It drove me crazy. It reminded me a lot of the animal cruelty rights they did in The Last Jedi, talking about droid rights, like human rights. It's very force-fed, and like I could see it coming from a mile away. And whether it's human rights or women's rights or racial rights or whatever it is, I'm not against any of that. I'm just saying, in my personal opinion, but to create a character solely to get killed off just to state a point, I think it's I don't feel like I need that in a movie. I already do that in my day-to-day lives. I am fully supportive of all these things. I don't want to see this in a movie where a character is just made just for this political thing.
So I think we're having the Kathleen Kennedy conversation here, right? Like, can I dive in on what he just said? I love. Okay, I even wrote it down. I liked her for 3 seconds. It made me laugh when she said, "I found my true purpose, Lando." Okay, it was funny, but up until that moment, because she's letting all the droids go, it was kind of funny. But that whole, rights for I'm so in agreement with what you said, Dan. I don't need to be preached at a Star Wars movie. If whether you're far right, far left, in the middle, I don't care. I'm at the movies, and I didn't hate 7. I didn't hate 8 because of the politicalness of them. I see it. I hear that argument. I even agree with the argument. And it bugged me with this character a lot. It did, until that one line where it set up, she was annoying. Okay, we get one laugh. Okay, she gives us the nav system to the Millennium Falcon. But it seemed like a lot of wasted.
I've even put here, finding L3 annoying.
Well, I'll just say this. It seems like more and more with regular movies. Look, there are political movies, and then there are movies that people make political. I don't want to get into all that. I don't like it in the movies either, unless that's specifically what the movie is about. Okay, There are political movies.
Sure,
that's fine. But I don't want it in a fantasy movie. Do it
Yes.
somewhere else.
Yes, I only like if they do it very subtly. There was one amazing scene in Avengers Endgame where all the female characters came together very subtly to go out and attack Thanos' army. That shows women in power. It's really cool. I love it. But that's it. That's just as much as we need. I don't want to feel like
I think that's silly too. They're superheroes. They can kick butt. We already know that. We don't need to genderfy all that. It drives. I got 4 daughters. So if it makes them happy, I'm happy in the most selfish way because I want my daughters to be happy, and they both loved that. So I don't want to minimize it. But we like Wonder Woman can kick some butt. I know it's not Wonder Woman, but I'm just saying we already know they're badasses. Sorry. So I don't. That's not funny. And the Kathleen Kennedy argument, I don't jump on that because I love these movies, but I'm choosing to overlook it because I hate it.
I think it's when something is done right and when something's done purposefully, and creating this character like L3 just to promote rights and maybe whatever it is wrong. But
I mean, the whole Star Wars world is a political story, guys.
100%.
I mean, stormtroopers, they're Nazis. It's about an oppressive government. I'm not going there. I don't care how you guys vote. You don't care how I vote. I'm not going there. But I like it if it's like an overarching theme subtly. But if you have this story, but by the way, I'm going to tell you how to vote real fast, it drives me bad.
Which is what Endgame did very well. You know, they brought the characters together. The girls kicked butt together, and I liked that. It was very subtle. I felt, really, as a man, I felt it was really cool to see women on screen kicking butt. But
it was fan service across the board. That's exactly right. I mean, but it was justified and totally made sense for the movie. Yeah, so and you're right. It was subtle and yet served its purpose in a very good way. I agree 100%.
Yeah,
I agree.
So that's why I got really annoyed by L3. Sorry.
No.
But and then from there, again, I do like the scene with Lando. I love the way they meet. Yep. We knew he wanted from him in a game of cards, but we don't actually see that till the end of the movie, which is kind of cool because when in this original scene, Han loses. He loses. But they agree to get the ship to do the get the coaxium, take it. They do the Kessel Run. I really liked that scene. I thought that was kind of cool. I loved the cinematography of it. All the scenes were really neat, very visually appealing to the eye. What do you guys think about that part of the movie? Did you enjoy that part? Did it make sense?
I mean, I like the part where they put L3 into the Falcon and it explained why is the Millennium Falcon better than everything else? Because they got some power and they got a great nav system. So I kind of like that, but boy, that was a lot of effort for that one little thing. But I did like the scene. I liked the big monster. They got sucked into the thing. That was cool. So I don't like it a whole lot when like the ship in every other movie, the ship is about to disappear and shoot. That I'm a little over. I feel like my daughter's daughters could write that. But yeah, Star Trek. But it still looked cool.
Yeah. I'm the same. I really love the look of the Millennium Falcon, like the inside. Like I like the fact that it's clean, it's white.
Yeah,
I really like the fact that they've really done it up really well, and I like the fact it's brand new. I like the fact that the escape pod was in there. I don't really like how they used the escape pod, like how they got rid of it. I feel like they could have used that someplace else. I feel
that's
like
another one of those scenes that every space or if submarine and spaceship movies, they got to drop the stuff off so somebody else. That's a little
and I just feel like I knew. Look, we all knew how the Millennium Falcon was eventually going to look, but to get rid of what was the escape pod like that, I feel like was a bit cheap. I feel like they could have done something better with that.
Hey, I want to say hi real fast to Patrick DizneyDan, who's down at the Magic Kingdom right now. He's going to the dessert party, and Brandy and Dave are here too. I don't remember if I said hi to them, but I want to make sure I don't forget them. Thank you all for dropping in. I definitely appreciate it. And I do like that part of the movie. I really, really do. But kind of moving on from there, and I want to talk specifically about characters after we kind of do this final act. I want to go back to the characters for a minute too, because I want to talk a little bit more about them. But because I think a lot of them are kind of misused in a lot of ways. But then after we finally get it, he does the Kessel Run. He's successful, obviously, because he's still alive. But we go back to the planet where they're dropping off the coaxium, and that's where Enfys Nest is there with her, and I say her now that we know, group of bandits waiting for them. And we find out that Enfys Nest is a child or a young adult. I'll say young adult. We never really get an idea of age. What do we think the age of Enfys Nest is? 15, 16?
I've never thought about it.
Young. She looks
young, right? Pretty young, right? Okay. But for the most part, that was kind of surprising. I wasn't expecting that. I expected it to be like a guy or an adult under there. So that was kind of a cool little, I don't even what the word is, surprise, I guess, for me. But and then of course Dryden Voss gets there with his ship. And what do you guys think about the whole final act there?
I just wanted to just quickly go back to the Kessel Run because we missed a lot about like the Empire and stuff.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
And firstly, Han, he's not very selfish. Like he's very much like a team player, which is exactly what he's not like in Episode 4. He's all about the money. He's all about sealing off his setting his debts and that kind of thing, and taking the money and running. So he was not. Again, this doesn't show a lot of Han's character. Like we know he's very much a team player, and I don't like that because that's not what Han's character is. So they steal the canisters from the planet. I really liked how Chewbacca helped his fellow Wookiees. I really, really like that because that shows you so much depth to what he. Like his culture, his tribe, his everything to do with him. We got to see a tiny bit of that in Episode 3, but they didn't really do much with that. But we actually got to see Chewie fight with other Wookiees, and I thought that was really cool. Like Han's like, go with them, go save your people. Like this is what you need to do. And I think that was really great. I love that. And the TIE fighters, when the Star Destroyer, finally we get to see the Empire for like 30 seconds.
The blockade,
yeah. And there was one great scene where the TIE fighters were flying by, and I think Beckett was just like, they're all around us, and then Han just shouts out like, yes, they're still on us. Like that was quite funny. I like the interactions with him and Beckett in this tense scene. This is the first time Han is actually a pilot in the Millennium Falcon. The first time he's actually flying the Falcon. So
I feel really good about this when everything's going crazy. I like that. That was very fun to me.
I like that. I like the fact he said, I feel really good about this, which is, the opposite, because everybody says, oh, I've got a bad feeling about this. I do like, I do find it, how, he can just, it's like me getting into an airplane and just driving it. I do all like ships have the same controls? I don't know. It just felt very like he was this is probably very nitpicky, but he got into the Millennium Falcon and drove it like he's been driving it for all 3 trilogies where he's never flown it before.
Good point. Jeff, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, all those things. I that's where I think Han was starting to be a little bit of that swagger. Lando clearly had all the swagger in this movie, but he showed a little bit of it there. Again, I mentioned, I like when I said, I feel really good about this when everybody else is like, oh my gosh, we're going to die. I think you asked how I felt or how we were feeling about when they got onto the island or whatever. I liked it. I liked 2 things. We learned that Chewie is 190. I like that.
Yep.
That I don't know why I like that, but I did. I liked it when when they first get there and they're offloading the stuff. Chewie says something to him, and he said, yeah, but if you round down, it was the 12 parsecs, meaning that we've kind of been lied to on how long the Kessel Run was, and that was Han being a scoundrel. So I really enjoyed that. That was the kind of stuff that I felt was a cool payoff. I agree that he was a little friendlier and nicer, but I feel like we also learned that he's got a couple lies in him, which, I like the gray thing in there. I don't think anybody's really light. I don't think anybody's really dark, and I think that's what Lucas is trying to say in this, and I don't want to get too deep.
I did get a lot of goosebumps where Han looked at Chewie and said, punch it.
Yeah.
That was one of the great scenes in this movie because it really was like the first time where these two really connected. Like these two were in the Millennium Falcon and Han says punch it and they do it. I love that tiny little snippet. I loved it. I got goosebumps.
I think they've really developed Chewbacca's character really well in this movie. That was one of the characters I did feel they really developed well. I did like the fact that they showed us him, you know, battling and fighting for his people and saving them and going back to help them. I did like the fact that he was there for that. Like you said, the punch-it scene, it's nostalgia. I love that stuff anyway. I agree with you on one thing when it comes to learning ships. What I would have liked was for Han to get on there and say, where's this button? Where's this button? How do I do this? How do I do that? Just look like, even for a minute, like you're struggling to learn this ship. Yeah. You're right. You just got on and boom, 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 off we go.
And Lando's in pain. And I think it would have been such a funny scene. You have Lando in pain and Han is shouting at him, where's this button? Where's that? And you see Lando just like, it's it. Oh,
yeah, exactly.
That would have been so much more entertaining.
I agree. I think that would have made for a much more appealing. By the way, real fast, if you do that, thank you very much for that super chat. You didn't have to do that. He says, from PJ, he wants you all to know he's king of the bus. Yeah. And wishes Disney was with us. King of the bus. King of the bus.
I wish I was with you guys too.
For those that don't know, king of the bus basically means they're the only ones on the bus, and it's all to themselves. Good for them.
And they're right at the back. They're right at the back, overlooking the whole bus.
Yes, king of the bus. Absolutely. Yep.
Those seats are always really warm because it's right underneath the fan.
Right by the fan. That's right. It's true. But I agree. I like that whole scene. I think there were things they could have done a little bit better, but it was important to the movie. I do think it was important to what we needed in this specific movie. It had to happen. They had to show it. And I thought they did it justice. I really did. I agree with you. I thought it was visually appealing seeing that Star Destroyer coming out of the clouds like that at him. That was really neat. I thought they did that well.
I think what we can agree is this movie is a very good looking movie.
Yes.
Like it's visually very good looking.
Visually very good. Very, very good. I agree 100%.
You know, and you mentioned again when they got on the island, I want to talk about one scene that I really enjoyed. So they're offloading the dangerous stuff with potentially dangerous things happening. And what does Lando do? Lando goes and kicks back, puts his feet up and says, all right, the Calrissian Chronicles, chapter 5.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And then stuff goes down and he's like, gone, I'm out of here. Yep. So I don't know. It was interesting how they developed Lando so subtly and with little lines. He didn't have a lot of lines. He didn't have a lot of screen time, really, for how much I think we all enjoyed him. And who wouldn't want another movie, especially if Mr. Childish Gambino wanted to star in it? I mean, we would all be there because he was great. And so
I'd love to see a Lando movie.
That was one of my favorite scenes.
I'd love to see a Lando movie. Really would. Without L3.
Yeah, he did great. He was
really good. Okay.
But what he did was, for the little bit of time that he had on screen, he commanded those scenes. He was really good in them, and he was the scene stealer for sure. Yeah. I was really surprised when we get to the final act. I was really kind of surprised where they went with this final act. Throughout the whole thing, your main villain is Dryden Voss, Paul Bettany. But he's probably the most inconsequential, unimportant villain in Star Wars history for a main villain of a movie. He's in it for all of 5 minutes, it seems like. He's barely in this movie, yet he's supposed to be the main guy, and yet we barely see him. He just doesn't have an effect in this movie for me. What do you guys feel about him as being, I mean, he's the main bad guy in this movie.
You or me, Dan?
I'll let you go, Jeff, before
I don't think he was the bad guy. I think he was the administrative goon that I think George Lucas likes to mock in his movies. I think that the bad guy is Kira, and I think we get shown that.
See, I don't see it. I don't see it that way. Really? That's not what I see. I see it as, I think what she does in the end, but I don't think she's pulling the strings the whole time.
No. I definitely agree she's not pulling the strings. She's the one that's betraying, though. Dryden is just the dude who wants people to think he's tough. He's got all the goons. He's got everybody standing there all scared. He's what I think Jeff Bates thinks George Lucas hated, which is what I liked about this, because I know George Lucas was well gone, but the story of Star Wars for me is this great administrative state political jerks. I mean, City Hall, people who think they have power over you, and it moves up and up and up to, well, Darth Vader, the big bad guy. I think Dryden Voss is a nice what's the word? Symbol for the administrative goon who thinks he's in charge. He ain't. He ain't. And Crimson Dawn was pulling his strings, and we learned who's pulling their strings. And I mean,
well, right. No, I agree. There are people above him, but for the sake of this movie, he's the only villain that we're given and that we're seeing that gives them consequences. That's what I'm saying. And yet he's not made
he's
out.
Definitely in charge. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's what I mean.
He's telling Beckett what to do. He's telling Kira what to do. Okay. Yeah.
Right. He's that villain in that respect. No, he's not the overarching big guy, bad guy. We know who that is. It's the Empire. It's the Emperor, who is mentioned in this movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Dan?
Right, get out your popcorn and your tissues because you're going to be crying with laughter in a minute. Dryden Voss reminds me of a very, very incredible villain from one of my favorite movies of all time, Casino Royale. Casino Royale is one of my favorite movies ever. It's a James Bond movie. And the villain in this movie is Mads Mikkelsen, who I think he plays Le Chiffre.
Yeah,
it's a brilliant, brilliant villain. Le Chiffre is the main bad guy in this movie, and he's on his last legs. He's trying to pay off the terrorists because he's used all their money.
Yes.
And he goes to two movies that have gambling scenes. One does it very well, one does it. It's okay. Mads Mikkelsen's character is on his last legs, and he's been pulled the strings by these terrorists, and he will do whatever it takes to win this poker game. Dryden Voss is Le Chiffre in Casino Royale, but a very, very bad version of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we see Mads Mikkelsen's character all the time in Casino Royale, especially in the second act, where he's manipulating Bond, he's poisoning Bond, he's really going all out, trying to, get Bond killed because he might win the gambling.
Well, he's also literally torturing him in the chair.
He's torturing them in the chair after they lost the poker game.
Right, exactly.
But what I loved is that we knew Le Chiffre was very much, he was terrified. He was even attacked by the terrorists with these samurai swords because, he was like, give me one more chance. I know I can win. There is no incentive to Dryden Voss. We don't see his masters. We don't see that he's worried. We feel like he's very cool, calm, and collected. It's a really bad version of Le Chiffre from Casino Royale. I just it really disappoints me because I love Paul Bettany. I think he's a fantastic actor, but I get your movie is only as good as your villain, and he was not a good villain.
Yeah, that's my thing. For the movie, he is the villain in the movie. He's not the big guy. He's not the overarching big bad guy. We get that. I understand that there's people he answers to as well, but we never really developed this character. We never really get any sense of
see him. We don't see him. And also, if you've never seen Casino Royale, I don't know what you're doing. You need to go watch it right now. It is one of the best movies ever made.
You don't like Bond?
No, Jeff, trust me.
This
movie, this is the most un-James Bond movie there is.
They say anyone's ever said anything that made me want to go see that movie.
They said in the movie, the famous line, shaken or stirred, and Bond goes, "Do you look like I give a damn?" Like, he wouldn't say that. He wouldn't say that in any James Bond movie. He is such a he's such an awesome guy, right? This is the most un-James Bond movie there is, and I couldn't recommend you anymore.
Well, I trust you with movies, so I might have to check it out.
We'll talk off stream about the event about Bond.
I told you to get sidetracked when I bring up other movies, but
don't talk about quarterbacks, so I'll be here all night. I missed that whole stream yesterday. I was seriously yelling at my computer.
So Dryden Voss, look, I'll just quickly finish with Dryden Voss. I think there was no, he didn't seem dangerous to me. His little, Batman lightsaber throwing knife things were really lame. I didn't think that was cool at all. And Yeah, and actually, Beckett becomes a little bit more interesting in this last bit of the movie.
Yeah, that was the big, for me, of the two surprises that we got. This was the one that I thought was the bigger of the two surprises. One of them was disappointing. One of them was surprising yet kind of cool. What Beckett, in the end, basically betraying him. He was going to kill him. He was going to take off with everything.
There's a lot of double crossing in this movie.
Yeah, there is.
There is a lot.
But I was really shocked that that Han Solo took him out as quickly as he did. He really didn't even really let him talk that much. He just boom shot him, and that was it.
I loved that.
That was it was good. I thought that was good. That reminded me of Han Solo.
It reminded me of Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones, where he shoots the guy with the sword.
The hemorrhoid shot.
I agree,
Han shot first. There you go.
Yeah, I agree.
Shut up, Greedo. Boom. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So look, I think it was a bit of an anticlimactic ending in terms of the villains. I think I would have wanted to see more of Kira and her involvement, and I wanted to see her more of a close relationship with Dryden Voss, like just get him on a hologram halfway through the movie saying what's been going on, or just something that builds their connection, because obviously they're in leagues with each other. She has that tattoo on her arm, and then once once Dryden Voss dies, she now is essentially the second in command, taking over his position when she talks to Darth Maul, which I am confused by.
Well, we're going to get into that, because that's the next thing I wanted to talk about. Is what I didn't like about this movie. The biggest thing to me is the cameo at the end here. And again, everybody in the chat, this is what I want to hear from you, because maybe you can enlighten me and educate me. I know that in the comic, not in the comics, but in the cartoons, clones and things of that nature, Darth Maul is still technically alive. He's got the spider legs and things of that nature. He is the cameo at the end of this movie. Kira obviously knows who he is, because she's talking to him and bringing the ship to him with everything on it. But we never developed that relationship. There's never any inkling or any idea of how she knows him, where she knows him from, how she's working for him. I just felt like this was just a throw-in to appease Star Wars fans. I want your guys' opinion on this.
Yes and no. The only reason, if we're talking Star Wars logic, Darth Maul becomes leader of the Mandalorians, especially in the TV show and in the lore, and he becomes leader of the Mandalorians. And I feel like, I really hope this is true, that Kira comes back and is with Darth Maul and is somewhat involved with the Mandalorian TV show that is coming on Disney+. I really hope this might be like a season finale, something. I don't know what it could be, but Darth Maul, his thing after he got killed by Obi-Wan Kenobi was that he became the leader of the Mandalorians. Mm-hmm. So if it was me, if I was writing the Mandalorian TV show, I would have like a season finale where, he's now on the throne of Mandalore and Kira's there delivering the goods to him. That's what I would see.
They could do that. Amelia Clark's not doing anything. Game of Thrones is over.
Game of Thrones is over.
She can do whatever she wants right now. Oh my gosh. Including a whole lot of people apparently, but not anymore. But anyway.
That's the writer in me. That's why I've got a pen in my hand, because I'm always thinking of all these scenarios.
There's a lot of things I want to do with you, Dan. Like if we ever hang out together, but I ain't going to a movie with you, because you'll be over there scratching out all your notes. So we're skipping that one. Be a little light right next to me.
Nope, that's not right.
What do you think about the addition of Darth Maul? And
so I love that you asked that question. You both were talking about in Solo characters that weren't developed. The greatest, in my never so humble opinion, the greatest travesty of a spectacular potential character that was not developed is Darth Maul in the entire universe.
Yep.
So I don't even care what they do. Do something. Give me more Darth Maul. My second oldest daughter, she's given me my first grandkid. Yeah, I'm old. Shut up. When she was a little girl, we couldn't even go in 7-Eleven in the pre ER for the Darth Maul movie because Darth Maul was right next to the 7-Eleven Slurpees, and she was freaked out at just the look of him. What a great character! I love the actor who plays him; he's spectacular.
Great part.
Yeah, and I want more of that. I want more of Kira. I want more of Solo. I want more of Chewie. I want more of Lando, and I want more of Darth Maul. So, if he's part of the Mandalorian, I would be all in on that.
Yeah.
We need more of that character. I don't care where they put it. That's so much there.
Well, I think for sure, you know, when we did our episode 1 Star Wars Sunday, Walter and I definitely agree that one of the few good parts of the Phantom Menace was Darth Maul.
Oh yeah,
I felt he was so underused.
The score and Darth Maul and that whole scene. That was,
it's amazing. We loved it. We absolutely loved it.
But I just don't think that the Darth Maul part in this movie, now that there's probably not going to be a sequel, makes no sense.
It didn't need to be there.
It doesn't need to be there because there's not going to be. I'm sorry. I'll be shocked if they come out with another Solo movie at this point.
See, I think they will. I just don't think they will soon.
You think so? I
do. I don't think it'll be tomorrow, but why wouldn't they? It's Han Solo we're talking about.
No,
yeah,
but it didn't produce what they expected it to produce. I think they're going to stay away from standalones for a while. I really, really do. You won't see a Boba Fett.
They already
they
already cancelled those because those were in talks of being made.
So, see, I'm not sure I agree. I think they're going to do a lot of stuff on TV. They've got the things they've got already for TV. They're talking about more, and they already have two sets of three, two trilogies that will be in the movies for the next generation. So I think, like whether it's in the MCU, they've got, what are we in number 4 now? The fourth, whatever.
Yeah, fourth phase.
The next one, we had the first 3, we had the second 3, we had the third 3. The fourth Star Wars, whatever, is 2 different trilogies. I think after that, it's hard to say. I can't imagine they don't do more with Solo there. I mean,
I don't know. I hope you're right. I just don't think that it's lent itself to a sequel. I don't see anything where they can say,
the movie probably
now
did,
let's go.
But the character possibilities certainly do. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that. I agree with that. But then again,
Indiana Jones number 39 coming up. So. We're on Indiana Jones number 39 here pretty quick. So,
Right. No, I agree. But they're terrible. I mean, they make money, but the problem with Solo was a fair movie, but it didn't make money.
So Megan makes the point that I guess she did it better than I would. If they came out with a Solo movie, if we didn't know about it and it came out Thursday, and you could go on Thursday to watch Aladdin or Solo, you'd go to one of them, right? And maybe you'd go to both of them. Like, does its perceived lack of a blockbuster prevent you from going to the next one? Did you go to see episode 1 and 2 and 3? We all did.
You know, this is the thing, right? I feel that people's opinion of this movie changed because it was kind of unfortunately released at a time where we were getting a bit of Star Wars fatigue. Marvel is the biggest thing right now. Yeah. And this goes back, I'll talk about more of this when we go into Rogue One next month. If they focused on this sequel trilogy that we got right now with Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, just doing those 3 and then do Rogue One and Solo after this sequel trilogy, I think it would have worked a little bit better because I feel like, look, I'm going to be honest. This is going to probably go into my final points of this movie. I didn't love this movie. I didn't even like this movie. I think it was fine. There were some great parts. I think Chewbacca was great. Donald Glover steals the show. And there were some good lines here. But this is nowhere near my favorite Star Wars movie. And I feel like... And this was not a Han Solo movie because this wasn't Han Solo. There were Han Solo-esques about him, but it wasn't Han Solo like we know and love. And this goes back to what I said...
But you said it, comparing it to the Star Wars movies is its downfall.
Right, but this is my point. Yeah. I would have had the same storyline. I would have kept the kind of like the heist aspect of this. I would have kept maybe including characters like Lando, maybe not Chewbacca, maybe some other different characters, and told a new story with new characters like they did with Rogue One, and changed something a little bit different. And instead of choosing a character that we all love like Han Solo and just telling us, filling in the plot details from what we've heard of in the other movies,
Yeah.
I would have had maybe a better time getting a new story like we did in Rogue One. And I just felt like this was a missed opportunity. Because
isn't that the danger though, when you're feeling like, so we've known about the Kessel. I'm 49. I knew what the Kessel Run was when I was 7. So that's my whole dang life. That's longer than most of you have been alive. And so what I would do,
Not me.
you would do. Yeah, but I think that it's almost, you make such a good point there, Dan. It's impossible to do something that we've loved. I want to know how he met Chewie. I want to know about the Kessel Run. I want to know. They're not going to do what I would do. It's almost an impossible. You give me Ron Howard, who I love. You give me this story that I love, and there's nothing they can do that'll. It's like when you read a book that you love, and then you go see the movie. It's never as good. Why? Because your imagination is your imagination. They cannot possibly keep up with what your perfection would be. And that's where I think this, that first movie, when you're talking about a character that we've loved, come on, you're a traditionalist, Walt. You've loved Solo like I've loved Solo your whole life, true?
Yeah.
Could you have written a Solo story? I don't know if you're a good writer. I don't even care. I bet in your mind you could write a good story that you would have loved. You would have loved. So would I, so would Dan, so would everybody in chat who loves Solo. And that's where these movies always, in my opinion, fall short. They can't be. Like, if you love the Lord of the Rings books, you probably love the movies, and that's so rare. That's how good those movies were. But there are even those people who go, oh, it wasn't that good. Yeah, because it wasn't Tolkien.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's kind of my point on Solo.
Yeah.
I think if we just turn off our brain and go, like, you love Casino Royale, yeah?
Yeah.
How many times have you seen it?
I can't even count.
More than 5?
Way more than, I would say more than maybe 10, 15 times.
Okay, wow. Well, I've seen it 0.
I love this. I truly love that movie.
What I thought my point was attempting to be was, you probably didn't like Solo, and you probably seen it 4 or 5 times. You probably love Casino Royale and probably saw it 4 or 5 times. And that was going to be my point. Obviously, it didn't work out.
Well, I'll say, for me, this movie was okay. It's the lower half of all the Star Wars movies. I think part of it is what Jeff said is correct. You have certain expectations on characters of what you expect their life to be. And when it doesn't come out the way you expected it to be, it puts a little bit of disappointment in there. But it goes more than that to me. I just felt like it was rushed. I don't feel like the characters were developed. I don't feel like we had a big bad in this movie that was worth being a big bad that you really wanted to see get it in the end. And the guy that played Han Solo, I think this movie, if it had Harrison Ford in it, even with CGI, probably makes another $150 million.
You know what? If they could have Robin Williams in Aladdin, it would kill it too. But
yeah, you're right. I get it. You're right. No,
look, like I said earlier, it's very difficult to create more of the backstory of the character that we love, because we look, like you said, Jeff, we want to know about the Kessel Run. We want to know how he meets Chewbacca.
Sure we do.
But those are, small plot points that we get from the other movies.
Right.
But in terms of the general plot from Solo and the character that we get from Han, this was not Han Solo. He was very charming, like he is in a lot of these movies, but he was never, aggressive. He was never, that lone wolf, that character, right?
And
he took his reward from the rebels, and he went off.
Yeah.
Right, and we never see anything that gets him to be the character we know in a
exactly.
We meet Han Solo blowing away Greedo, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
And now we met him kind of being I love my girl. So I hear what you're saying. He wasn't as tough as I would have liked him to have been. I mean, Han Solo's the manly man, right? Not so much in Solo. He's very charming with Kira, but then he goes up to Leia and he goes, "Who's scruffy looking?" There's 2 different types of charm there. There's the arrogant charm there with Leia, and then there's the suave charm. And I would have rather him stuck with that kind of arrogant, that bad boy-esque jock character. It was too nice for a dude who's about to run away from the military.
Yeah,
Right.
he ran away from the Empire and stopped. He's a thief.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Well,
he
he's always been
He's a smuggler.
right, but he's always been part of it until A New Hope. He was always partly selfish and somewhat of a tiny bit of a coward as well. I mean, even in A New Hope, at first, he's like, "What good is the use of having a reward if you're not around to use it?" I mean, he was a coward. He was running off. He wasn't gonna stay.
I don't know. I don't know if I would say a coward. I would say selfish.
Yeah, he's
for him.
he's selfish.
I guess. Well, selfish, yeah, but that's true too. But I mean, in the end, I do want to know from you guys, because I know we're coming up on an hour and a half. Dan, if you had to rate it in stars from 1 to 5, what do you give it?
Okay, so I've been doing my my list of where all the Star Wars movies
Where
fits
it
in.
falls.
So the movies that we've done so far, episode 1 is how many movies are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
This is
8,
the
9,
fourth.
10. There's 10 movies. So episode 1 was 9th, episode 2 was 10th, episode 3 was 6th. So Solo is number 8 for me. It's third from bottom. I just really look. It's a movie that. Here's the thing. There are great Star Wars films that I would just sit down and watch from start to finish and get totally invested. There are some Star Wars movies that are garbage, and there are some Star Wars movies which I call a Netflix movie, where I could put it on in the background, talk with my friends while casually looking at the movie and just not paying too much attention.
Right.
Solo for me is a Netflix movie, and it's a shame to say that, because look, we are all massive Star Wars fans, and I love Han Solo, but I feel there was missed opportunities in this movie. It was rushed. There was the whole director collaborating and trying to sort out who the main director was it felt very choppy. We get some character development from the wrong characters. It is a great looking movie. I love the music to this movie. I think the score is fantastic. But in all fairness, for me, it was quite a disappointing movie. For me. I know there are people who really like this movie, but everybody has an opinion. But for me, it is my third lowest.
Jeff, how about you, buddy?
I feel like I've kind of already said this, but it's 2 different questions for me. You asked 1, but it's 2 for me. If there's 10 Star Wars movies, I don't have a list. I haven't thought about that, but it would probably be certainly on the bottom half. Yeah. But if you're asking me of movies of 2018, it's in my top 10, I'm sure. I mean, I don't have a top 10 list for 2018, and I love the movies. I love going to movies. So if you make my top 10, Dan, you love the movies. I know you do. If you make my top 10 list for movies in a year, it's a pretty good movie, at least in my view.
Sure.
So I guess it depends on how I'm comparing it. Is it my favorite movie ever? No, of course not. Is it my favorite Star Wars movie? No, of course not. Is it one of my favorite movies? It's a Star Wars movie. Yeah. Like, I don't know what movie you think is the worst in the Star Wars universe, but
Attack of the Clones.
I guarantee whatever it is for me, I've watched it a bunch and I've enjoyed it every time. Like, Jar Jar doesn't screw up one for me because there's enough awesome there.
Attack of the Clones don't get me started on Attack of the Clones.
Yes,
Jeff.
let's not go there.
Don't go there.
I like when you talk, man. If you don't, I'll get you started. It's all right with me, but I just don't think it's fair. Like, this is my issue with Solo. On its own, we would have loved it. Compared to Empire Strikes Back, there's like 5 movies that compare to Empire Strikes Back on my favorite movie list, and 2 of them have Godfather in them. So I don't know.
Yes.
I think that's hard.
Well, for me, this movie definitely falls in the bottom end as well when it comes to ranking them with the other Star Wars movies. It probably falls third from the bottom. I like Sith a little bit better, but not by much. I could flip-flop the 2 and I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. I enjoyed certain aspects of it. Other parts of it I didn't enjoy. I think it was look, I like the idea of knowing Han Solo's backstory, but if I never knew Han Solo's backstory, it wouldn't have been the end of the world. So was this movie 100% necessary?
Yeah. I was gonna say, did we need this movie? No.
It's fun to know, but if I didn't know it, if I just had to live off what we knew from the original trilogy of him, that would have been fine. That's okay.
But doesn't that go to that whole, if we love a character and then you give us a backstory on it, we're not going to like it because it's not going to be as good as we want it to be.
Probably.
I think it's impossible to achieve, but it's going to make quarter billion. It's going to make $250 million, so they keep doing it. Because they don't care if we love it. We bought the merch. I got the backpack. I buy the pin. I mean, come on.
But they do care because now they're not making sequels, and they've stopped making standalone. So they listened to the people. They saw that people. Meg was saying earlier that it's Star Wars, people will go see it. That's not necessarily true. They only made $1 billion. It only made, but it didn't. But Jeff, you got to put it in perspective. It's not considered a success. They don't consider it a success. You do. I do. I understand what you're saying, but they don't because they nixed it. I mean,
in 2018, it was probably a top 10 movie. Yeah.
I can look that up if you'd like.
I haven't looked it up. I don't know. If it's not, I'm sure it's close.
What came out last year? So Avengers and Infinity War came out last year.
Close. It was a top 12. It was number 12. It was number 12. It made number 12.
I know I went to more than 12 movies in 2018, and I probably loved at least 12 movies in 2018.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dr. Seuss's The Grinch made more than that.
I love Dr. Seuss.
But that movie was terrible. That movie was, oh, God.
I don't like any Dr. Seuss movies, but I love me some Dr. Seuss.
It made Venom made more. Ralph Breaks the Internet almost made as much. For top 12, it's fine, but at all time, I don't know. I wanted this movie to be great. Don't get me wrong. I love Han Solo. He's one of probably my third favorite character behind Luke and Darth Vader. But I don't know. I wished it was more for me. That sums out for me. What makes these so much fun, Jeff, is the fact that everybody has a different opinion. I love the fact. I love it. Yeah, it's great. Because what you'll do is you'll show us things about the movie that maybe we missed that might give us a better appreciation for it.
Yeah,
this is foreshadowing our inevitable one-on-one battle between myself and Jeff.
I like you so much that I feel bad for you about it.
Oh, okay. We'll see about that, my friend.
I think I got your buttons, buddy. I think I do.
Solo, a Star Wars movie, was the 180th all-time movie.
There you go.
Yep, 180.
Yeah, but then you think about, if you scroll up on that list and see some movies that are there.
Some of that is the economy. I get it. That's fair. That's totally fair. But we're still
the Lorax made more money than Solo.
I don't get me wrong, but I believe 50 Shades of Grey made more money than this.
It might have. I don't know.
I have such a strong opinion on that. You have no idea, but
yeah, Alvin
and the
Chipmunks, the Squeakquel made more than Solo.
Can we stop now? Because this is making me feel really bad.
Is that a thing?
I'm just saying. No, but guys, hey, look, everybody. I appreciate everybody being here in the chat. Everybody's been wonderful. Everybody's been hanging in. We got 21 people watching right now. And before we head out, again, I hope you guys enjoy this. We do it once a month. We enjoy this. We love having special guests, and none more than we did today with Jeff. Jeff, thank you. No, thank you, bud. We really appreciate you being here. This was a lot of fun. We really hope you had a good time. Please plug your channel for us for all those that are in here so they're aware of your channel. Go ahead.
I got a live stream tonight right after a Disney Life for Me. I've got a great friend of mine, Nikki. She's a former cast member, Disney Animals of Kingdom. She was Timon for a couple of years. She's got all kinds of, I don't know what she's going to tell us. Every time I sit with her, I learn something new. Nice. She's just a joy to talk to about Disney. You're going to love her.
What time?
Right after Disney Life for Me. So 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. my time here Central. Okay. Sometime
or 5 in the morning for me.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, I was up till 3:30 last night.
That's right.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, though, then because you gave me some time to plug me, I'll plug Dan. Congrats on your year. I really loved last night's stream. What a neat, a lot of people. I loved everybody you had on all 3 of those hours. I had stuff to do and I didn't go anywhere. My wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, Nothing. Leave me alone. This is fun.
No, thank you. No, the amazing support I've got from everybody, and just everybody just saying such kind words to me has just been really so humbling. So from you, from Walt, from everybody, just again, thank you so much. And it's crazy. The outpour was just overwhelming. It really
one of my favorite parts was when Walt came back the second.
Oh, it was brilliant. Walt just you came back in right at the end to say hi. It was great.
I just had to real fast because there were so many people in there. I felt left out. I wanted to say hi to everybody. I was like, I gotta say hi again, and I was only on for a couple seconds. I didn't want to.
That was funny. I liked it.
And thank you, Perfectly Cat, for subscribing. I really do appreciate it.
Yes, very much so. Absolutely.
So
and Dan, of course, my partner channel, my newest partner channel. We're very lucky to have him as partner channel at this point. Dan, thank you again, buddy. As usual, this is a lot of fun. We'll be back next month in June, and I think we even have our special guest lined up, or at least we're going to get him lined up.
Mm-hmm. Or her.
Or her. That's right. We're not sure yet. We do have a couple different people we're looking into.
Yeah.
Stacy asked if we were going to do our Star Wars in August from Galaxy's Edge.
Okay, so the plan is it's going to be very difficult for us to live stream from Galaxy's Edge just because everybody's going to be live streaming from Galaxy's Edge. So look, Corey, who was in the chat, found it very difficult for the 30th anniversary of Hollywood Studios. Just imagine what it's going to be like for Galaxy's Edge. So our plan is, this is the plan for now. We believe in August it's Return of the Jedi.
I think so. I think
we're going to do as normal Return of the Jedi on whoever's. I think it's on your channel.
No, I think it's you.
Is it me?
I think it's you. Because this is May.
I'm doing Rogue One.
I'm July. You're August.
Okay, so I'm doing Return of the Jedi. I think we'll do it on my channel as we do normally. But we will try and do a special Star Wars stream from Galaxy's Edge with myself and Walt when we're out there. So we'll do our best, but we will try and do a stream from Galaxy's Edge and try and get into Smuggler's Run.
Yeah, or Disney in general, if we can wing it. We're still working on that. We got a lot of stuff.
Maybe Launch Bay might be a good shout to do it.
Yeah, it could be a good one. Yeah, we could find a spot there. Yeah.
So
we'll see.
Yeah, so that's our plan right now, and we are looking forward to doing Rogue One, a Star Wars story next month, which will be on my channel. Mm-hmm. So much to say about that movie, and I think it's going to get very interesting next month because. Well, you will have to come back and wait and see. But again, I just want to thank Walt for hosting this month Star Wars. We've been having a lot of fun doing these. I can't believe we're nearly halfway doing all of these, which is crazy. It's crazy. So, but we've got so many good ones to come, which I'm very excited about. We've got through the hard part, and I think the good stuff is coming, which I really, really like to think. So, again, thank you, Jeff, for joining us. Jeff, you not only have an amazing channel, but you're a great friend and a very great supporter of not just my channel, but everybody's channel. So,
yes, everybody go out and subscribe to Jeff if you haven't already. He's very close to 2,000 subs. He's getting there.
Yeah. 19 something. I don't know. Yeah.
Very, very close. So go subscribe to Jeff, and we hope that Jeff and I will do our UK versus US battle royale victory royale.
You're going to need to come in and support Dan because, I mean, it's not really fair to him.
Yeah. Well, everybody,
I feel like we need like an Australian as a referee.
Nice.
Yeah. Dan,
plug my channel. It's DizneyDan, DizneyDan, all one word. Do Disney Fiasco, which was our 1 year anniversary yesterday. So if you checked it out, it was just one of the best moments of my YouTube career. It was amazing. Disney Food Friday, because I love my food. That's every Friday. Just did one on Kakigori, which is from the Japan Pavilion, one of my personal favorites. And I'm going to try and get out a vlog tomorrow, possibly Tuesday. We'll see. There's a vlog coming. I do a vlog every week as well. And Disney Fiasco will be going ahead next Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's where you can find me.
There you go. And for us, of course, thank you everybody in the chat. Everybody's been great. Very, very, very back and forth. It's been very very up and down, and I love that you guys are really receptive and engaging, and that's been great. And for us, we go live every Tuesdays and Thursdays, Mouse Madness on Tuesdays. We do Disney Talk Thursdays, and of course, Sports Night on Saturdays. If you're able to check us out then. Thank you to my partner channel, of course, again, DizneyDan, and my other partner channel, Steve from Steve's World, who was in here a little bit earlier. I have 2 great partner channels. We're very lucky. We're very honored. And other than that, folks, we definitely appreciate all of you in the chat. This community is wonderful. We're very lucky to be a part of it. We do our best to make it a great community, but it's everybody in the chat to come out every single week, support, come out. It's just fantastic. We're blown away with the support in this community, and we love you guys. And until next time, please take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you all really, really soon.
May the force be with you.
Yes. Take care, everybody.
Go watch Solo.
Casino Royale.
Bye-bye.